Along with individual experts, Surgeon Masters brings you life improvement strategies in 10 minutes. These proven principles and strategies are easy to learn and can be applied immediately, allowing you to practice your best. Here's your host, Jeff Smith.
On this episode of the Surgeon Masters mini podcast, I have back with me Margie Nelson, our healthcare leader, healthcare quality and safety specialist who has worked in multiple healthcare settings focused on the physician and the patient experience, as well as risk management in that relationship. Welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for the opportunity to, again, share what I've learned with the hope that it speaks to somebody who's listening and eases their burden a bit, their leadership burden.
So excellent. We love learning from you because I think you bring in a great perspective. I wondered if you could share with us a little bit of how you developed that perspective.
Well, I want to start by saying that I am not a physician. I have spent the last 20 years as a hospital quality and safety specialist, handling risk, quality improvement, and communication enhancement. I came to this work because my dad received a liver transplant in 1990 from Tom Starzl, who was the preeminent liver transplant doctor at a time where they were just emerging. And he was at the University of Pittsburgh, but my dad, who was a medical researcher and was in a drug study, died from a side effect of an experimental immunosuppressant study that he joined. He was a man who dedicated his life to medical research, and it really impacted me in many ways. But it was the experiences that I had with his medical care and his medical team and his passing and the interaction with the physicians that really has informed my patient advocacy. I realized the importance of partnership between patient families and physicians, and I became interested in patient and physician communication, family involvement, and the very fragile balance of power and information sharing between patients and families and physicians. This was long before HCAHPS and reimbursements tied to patient-reported incomes and outcomes and experience of care, but I think it was relevant then and it's more relevant now.
And you shared with us some great concepts and ideas about improving communication, about working with your team, being a physician leader. So if I'm starting to get into a lot of those reps and doing that well, like how do I elevate myself even further?
It's a great question. I think a gross generalization here recognizes physicians as healers, but when they're first thrown into a leadership position, physicians are less likely to have experiences in leading people, especially other physicians who are their peers one day and then their direct reports the next day. I've worked with seasoned directors of surgery, emergency department chiefs, and even chief medical officers who are superior practitioners, yet they're hesitant to address other physician behaviors that may be negatively impacting their department or their team. So when taking roles that require supervision of people, physicians and non-physicians, there's a different skill set that's required to garner trust as a leader and build a team and drive results. And credibility as a great diagnostician and treatment plan designer does not necessarily lead to great leadership.
What are some things that do?
Well, it can be hard to address negative behavior in a peer or a fellow physician. Even if you know what improvement needs to take place, it can seem daunting to build inner team relationships between others who are not physicians, but integral to the team success. So a few simple and perhaps obvious actions can make all the difference in building trust and creating the team that you want to lead. You have to have an action plan. And what that means is living your own values, or you can personalize some of the corporate or hospital values so that your team leads in the same way that you do, building a community around a principle. For example, a values example might be care deeply. We want to care deeply about our patients, and it's plastered all over the wall at the hospital. But what does that mean? It means that you care deeply about your team members. Knowing small things about your team members by asking them and referring back to them, maybe writing cards to acknowledge performance or life events for them or something that you notice, helps them understand how it feels for somebody to care deeply about them. And in order to care deeply for our patients, we have to care deeply for each other. So if your team is large, you may have to keep notes in your staff contact list to trigger your memory about these little things. But when you say them, when you see somebody recognize them, it builds those relationships. Another example of values could be embracing teamwork. Do you advocate for your team? Celebrate their wins, discuss when something goes wrong, and listen to all involved for clues and opportunities. Another value would be instilling trust. It's a great values example. If you act with integrity and expect integrity in words and work, you have to lead by example. You have to walk your talk, state it and refer to it, and ensure your actions follow your word. Even if the whole hospital or corporate system doesn't adhere to each value and tenet, your team will know that you do, and your team will start to express and reflect your values. So my question to you is, how are general values expressed within your team? Here's how I believe it works. If you praise positive behaviors more often than addressing negative, each team member will seek the approval of your respect and will look for those positive moments. If you build a culture of collective excellence, it's like a rowing team. When everybody's rowing in one direction, it's hard and noticeable when somebody's out of sync. So your team starts to be elevated by what your leadership example is. So take a little bit of time to think of your own personal values and priorities. What are the characteristics and attributes, like I have expanded on a few here, that you would like to see in your team? Once you identify those priorities, it's much easier to articulate the corresponding behaviors, and that's the homework for you. Lastly, use physician coaching early and refer with compassion. It's not a punishment, but it's a resource. If one of your team members or one of your physician's behavior is disruptive to what you're trying to build, if it needs improvement with patients or is showing stress or physician is in decline, it's a cry for help. And as a healer, sometimes we're the last to see our own need. So as a leader, you need to be that person for your team.
Sounds spectacular. It sounds a lot like aligning your values and behavior in all directions, not only to the patients, but also to your team.
That's it. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share what I've learned.
Fantastic. And our listeners greatly appreciate it and look forward to incorporating the strategies and action plan that you shared with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
There you have it. In less than 10 minutes, this is Jeff Smith, along with Margie Nelson. Until the next episode of Life Improvement Strategies for the Surgeon Who Wants More. Ciao.
Now, take 10 minutes and put your plan into action to practice your best.